Well, no marks there for guessing who our guest of the week is. I mean, the very first clip just took my mind back, way
How
back.
many decades back?
Oh, several. 3, 4, 3, 4. With a young Pete Edochie acting in Things Fall Apart. Well, our artist of the week today is no other than the famous, ever lovable Pete Edochie. Good morning, Mr. Edochie. Or is it Chief? Where is Mr. Edochie?
Chief.
Chief.
Chief. Chief, not Mr.
Good morning, Chief Edochie. Good of you to join us today.
Yeah, good. God bless you. Thank you very much.
I suppose you joining us today has something to do with an event that happened in the course of the week or last week?
Well, it depends on you. You invited me to join you, so you know why you did. I mean,
Something about a birthday celebration, Mr. Chief Edochie?
yes, of course. I turned 75 a few days ago, on Monday to be precise. Yeah.
I can see that the quintessential broadcaster is still very much in there.
Well, of course. I mean, if you're a broadcaster, you remain one, no matter what happens.
Full stop. No two ways about it, Chief. No two ways about it.
I want to ask you.
Certainly not.
Yeah, I want to ask you a nostalgic question. Okay, well, a question, and I hope it brings some nostalgia. I mean, I don't know how many times you may have been asked this question, if ever, but looking at the young Okonkwo in that movie, played by you, at 75, how does it feel?
Well, you used the exact word. You talked about nostalgia. But I look at it and I say to myself, is this really you? I mean,
Oh, that's some local.
When I did Things Fall Apart, I was 38 years old.
Wow.
Today I'm 75. So it's been quite some distance, if you ask me. And anybody who tells you that age is just a number should be subjected to psychiatric evaluation, quite honestly, because I can tell you that, I mean, you get older and you discover that most of your faculties are falling apart. Quite but well, that's all part of life, you know. Now the aging process, you can never run away from it. But you're lucky if you age gracefully, you know. If you have things that will sustain you as you age, that's where the luck is. If there is nothing to sustain you as you age, then come on, you are in hell. So I thank the Almighty God that I'm still inching on. Yeah, that's right. You know, so.
But Chief, you're still acting.
Yes, of course I am. My faculties are still intact. I did plenty of Shakespeare in my time, so what I do now is not quite as challenging as things used to be in the past. So I think I'm enjoying myself thoroughly. I'm enjoying my retirement, if I'll put it that way, because I retired from broadcasting after 31 years and decided to go into acting full time, and that's what I'm doing. I don't allow myself to be distracted by any other thing, so I concentrate on acting. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, since you have traversed two sectors of life, so to speak, broadcasting and acting. So let me ask you your take on broadcasting that you retired from and the broadcasting that we experience today.
You have a lot of information at your disposal now, so you're not expected to work as hard as we did In our own time, there was nothing like the internet. So you were completely on your own. For you to get information, you had to go to the library, you had to do a lot of desultory reading. You read voraciously to ensure that you had all the information you required at your fingertips, particularly if you were going to conduct an interview. Today, all you have to do is do some Googling and you get all the information you want. So it's easier for you today. But still, there are some of you who are very lazy, extremely. You work very, very hard on Channels Television. I must congratulate you because when I watch you, I say, yes, some people are still keeping the flag flying, and I feel very happy. But there are other stations that don't work hard. For example, if you're having a sports competition, there are individuals you are supposed to mention and give their history, like Ernest Okonkwo was doing, like Ishola Folorunso was doing, Dele Adetiba, and the rest of them. You don't have such things anymore. So the broadcasters we have today, quite honest, I am sorry about this, but a lot of them are very lazy, very, very, very lazy. And it's painful. You see, broadcasting is not an involvement of convenience. No, it's a vocation. If you are into it, you're there because you have the calling. You are not there simply because you want to spend some time, then you move on to some other thing. If you look at it that way, you are not a broadcaster. In our own time, we we started the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria in 1973 when we did the All Africa Games. And look, we worked our body asses off in order to get it off the ground. And I think we did very well. I don't see such commitment anymore. I don't. I'm sorry, but I'm being honest with you. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those days have been, they are quintessential days, if I can use the term in this context.
Right.
But I'd like you to, if you don't mind, go back in time. Give us an example of a time you were looking for information or running a research and maybe you had a hard time getting certain information. How do you deal with it when you're not sure whether or not this is it? I mean, you didn't have Google, just as you said, and sometimes the library may not even be as up-to-date as you need.
We did a lot of reading on our own. It's simple. We read a great deal. I have a very, very, very big library up till this moment. And I am still buying books and I am still reading. The people we see today don't seem to spend much time buying materials and reading them. Like I said, information is easily available to you. You just Google and there it is, We worked hard on our own to obtain information, right? Sometimes we became some kind of nuisance in the search of information. You kept bothering the individual concerned, particularly your interviewee, until you got the information you wanted, So we worked hard, extremely hard. You see, when we went for the All Africa Games, we still have people like John Akibua, we still have people like Kimjoge Keino, Philbert Bai, and we worked hard to get information on those people. Ernest Okonkwo, who was leading our commentary team, knew everything about these individuals, right? And he was surprised that a lot of us too, I was there with Yinka Craig, may God rest his soul, and others too. And look, we worked hard for God's sake. Whatever we wanted, we went for it and we got it. So that if you were listening to us, all the information you required about the individual concerned, you got it all like that. It's not like that today. I'm sorry, but I mean it. It's not like that today. Yeah.
Was there any discrimination back then?
How? What do you mean?
There's those who say that there is some form of discrimination of gender, of age, and stuff now. I'm wondering where they got that from, though.
No, it's nonsense. There's nothing like that. I mean, if you are good, you are good.
You're good.
If you're
Full
not
stop.
competent, you're not competent. There's nothing. Listen. I mean, you can tell a good broadcaster when you listen to one. I mean, you don't fight it. It comes naturally, right? There was no discrimination. We had female broadcasters who were exceptionally good, and we had the men too. So,
okay, how much?
It was challenging.
Yeah, how much of an influence was your broadcast experience on acting?
A lot. You see, before I actually got into broadcasting, I was trained by an individual called Sir Lawrence Olivier. And because he single-handedly went through Shakespeare, I decided I was going to be an actor if I had the opportunity, and I was going to try as much as he did to also have Shakespeare at my fingertips, you know. I went quite far, I must tell you the truth. And so when I remember now that I worked so hard in those days, sometimes I'm given a script and I recall my broadcasting days. And of course, I inject some of my experience into my scripts and I find it easy. Yeah.
Chief, let me take you way back.
Mm.
Back to your days in Zaria
What?
as a young boy. What were those days like? Do you have any recollections? Do you have any happy moments to talk to us about so we can just insert ourselves into that life which you lived in the northern part of Nigeria?
That's a very daring question. How did you get to know about Zaria? Well, yes, that's where I was raised. You know, it was a very adventurous time of my life. I tell you the truth. You know, we would go to European quarters to steal mangoes. We were shot at. We fell from the trees. We screamed our mothers' names, and we managed to escape. Then we would go to steal sugar cane from the farms, and the Maigona or the owners of the farms will catch us. They will beat us thoroughly and then allow us to go with what we have stolen. Then we go to the riverbank to steal carrots. You know, it was a beautiful period because we were growing up then, and you know, we grew up with our hosts who were young Hausa boys, and Christmas period we had our masquerades. During the Salah period, they came with their own masquerades too. So you see, there was no distinction then between us and them. There was nothing like Christian, Muslim. There was nothing like that. We all grew up together, you know, and each time they came with their masquerades, the sort of songs they sang were intended to rile us, but they didn't mean anything. Like saying "Kankeredi," you say "Kankeredi" simply means the head of a dog is very sweet. They knew that as Igbos, some of us ate some of us probably ate dogs and all that. And they would come and tell you that, can't create it, and then when they want to talk about coconut, well, because they believe that Ojuku's father made a lot of money from palm kernels and all that stuff, they tell the Ubanka Hokwakwa. Your father climbed the palm tree. For the past 2 weeks, he's been up there, he has not come. You know, most of these things, maybe they were intended to rile us, but they didn't mean anything, you see. And okay, we go to play football. We quarrel on the football ground. The people who always came with the football were our Muslim friends. And each time we scored against them, they would take their ball, they were going away. We would beg them, concede it was no goal. So we started again, you know. Sometimes we broke up on some discordant note. The following day, we shall reassemble. I mean, it was all fun, I tell you the truth. It's not like that these days. It's not. I don't know whether those old days can ever come back. I doubt it. I doubt it. So growing up in Zaria was a wonderful period of my life. I am not ever likely to forget. Yeah. I don't know how you delved into this, but I think you got me there.
So, Chief, can you just describe to us what you feel these days, seeing the intolerance, knowing how you lived in Zaria, you were an little Igbo boy, and it didn't matter to anybody whether you were Christian, whether you were Igbo, you all ran around together and played together. I mean, describe to us how you feel now, the intolerance that young people and even adults, well, should I say, what young people have inherited from their parents, this kind of discrimination that we see all over Nigeria.
I am disappointed, extremely. The impression I get is that There are two distinct political parties in Nigeria, Christianity and Islam. Simple. Now, the average Christian writes from left to right because of Western influence. Then the Muslim writes from right to left because of Arab influence. Now let me ask you a simple question. Who writes backwards?
Nobody.
Yeah, come on. This is a problem, and you see, this is why there appears to be an insuperable gap between the Muslims and the Christians in this country. So there is this struggle for supremacy. I must overtake such and so person. I must assert myself at the expense of this person. And the moment you have that kind of mentality, the country can never move ahead. What me? You can't move ahead. We never had such things as we were growing up in Zaria. No. I can speak Hausa very, very fluently, right? I found myself in their midst. I ate whatever they ate. We played together. At a time, I'll tell you what you will not believe. We would go for Christian lessons in the church. Then from there, we would move to the Muslim area to go and sit down there and be taught by the imam. So you had Christians, you had Muslims, we're all moving together. From our own point of view, you'll be telling the Muslim, God is a supreme spirit. Repeat after me. God is a supreme spirit. Good. Then we move from there. We go to their own angle, and then hey, they will look at me. They will try to read the ABC. Abasa we're beginning to read the Abasa, the ABC. We were doing these things collectively, and look, there was no discrimination. Whatever you wanted to do, if you excelled, you were put there. Today, it is not the same thing, right? And what pains me most is that at my age, I get so confused by what goes on. I read 1984 by George Orwell, and I came across expressions like on person, double speak, and the rest of them. There's so much double speak in the country now that you don't even know the direction in which we are going. Quite honestly, you don't. You talk about national spread. How do you describe this? What do you call it? What is the popular word for this national spread?
Quota system.
You talk about a quota system and all that, national geographical spread, beautiful. Now, when it comes to politics, you say, oh, there's nothing like zoning. How do you make a distinction? Look, come on. I don't like being fooled at this age. How do you make a distinction between zoning and national spread? It's the same thing. But you see, because politicians by nature are not, they have a way of, running away from this truth. I don't know whether it's a congenital trait in the average politician that you must shy away from the truth. But you look at what is going on now, there is no harmony between the Muslim and the Christian. The Christian from the South says, look, we want local policemen. The man in the North opposes it. The man in the South tells you, look, okay, here was Goodluck Jonathan. After 4 years, he organized a confab, 6 years really. On the eve of his departure, they came up with deliberations from that confab. Then the APC takes over with Muhammadu Buhari, and the deliberations are spiked up till this moment. At 75, I don't know what the deliberations are. And yet we have problems in the country. I don't know. If let me quote Wole Soyinka. If you keep thinking about the problems of the country, you'll go mad. And I don't want to go mad, right? Because when you hit my age, a very thin, hardly perceptible line distinguishes the madman from the sane man. So I want to see if I can maintain my sanity. Yeah. And I think I'm doing very well.
Good idea to maintain your sanity, Chief. Now, after you left secondary school, You went to work with
Yeah.
the Nigerian Railway Corporation. The same one we were talking about in the last...
Yes, my father was there.
Sorry?
Yeah. I think my father was there. Yeah, go on.
The same one we were talking about in the last segment. What are your memories of your days at the Railway Corporation? When you compare it to the Railway Corporation which we have now? Well, I say now with hesitation because I'm thinking about the Nigeria Railway that we had before the government decided to revamp the sector.
It will be difficult for me to be authoritative on that if I must respond to that question, because we in the Southeast are not part of the arrangement by the government. Yeah. Amechi cut us off completely. So I don't know what the railways looks like now. I don't, but from what I see, there's plenty of infectious incompetence there. I mean, going to invent some of this flowery language to see if you can cover up the incompetence that is stinking there is just to fool people. It was not like that when we were there in the 60s. No. People from all walks of life, from all parts of the country, were working in the railways and ensured that the railways was working. Whenever any engine or any train had a problem, it was shunted into the background and you had people working on it. I don't know what it is like today. Quite honestly, I don't know, because I was watching the railway head talk about a few things, but I wasn't impressed with what he was saying. I was not at all, because every other day you have problems with the railways. Every other day, right? And we're not going to spend all our time looking for pegs on which to hang our failures. That doesn't make much sense, So railways today, quite honestly, I don't know what it's like. I know that out here we don't talk about railways because it's not functioning in the Southeast. It's not, Maybe one day, someday, Amechi may include us in another round of refurbishments or whatever. So when that time comes, perhaps I can just look in and see whether I can compare the operations now with what they used to be in those days. But for now, we in these parts, we don't have the railways. No.
Well, something that is definitely thriving in the East, as in every part of Nigeria, is Nollywood. And and I'm actually very excited, to find that, culture plays a significant role in much of these things. And I'm also very happy that at least you have traversed virtually every space in the country. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. How significant would you say culture is in what we do? I'm asking that against the backdrop of the values and stuff that we're supposed to be passing across, through our movies and all. You know that recently there's been a lot of talk about ritual killings and all, and the Film and Video Censors Board have been charged with the responsibility of ensuring that such contents don't go into, our movies anymore and all of that. So in terms of the content, the quality of messages, we'll talk about the quality of production and all later, but the quality of the messages, pushing the values, the cultures and traditions of the various Nigerian societies, what would you say our rating is from your 75-year-old experience in this life?
Thank you very much. I've been waiting for that question. You see, situations breed people. Let me just put it that way. When we were young, growing up in Zaria, each time we went to watch cowboy movies starring the likes of John Wayne, Alan Ladd, Robert Mitchum, and the rest of them, we would see them rolling tobacco and smoking. Most of my friends did not want to accept that they were rolling tobacco They thought they were rolling hemp, and then they went ahead to enslave themselves with hemp. They were all destroyed. I was part of that team, but I didn't join them in rolling hemp because I knew that that was tobacco. I tell you why I am using this example now. A lot of people watch our movies. Our movies are intended to be didactic. There must be a lesson in every movie you watch, what it should be. Whether it is that way now, I cannot tell you because I'm not in all of them. But you see, you create impossible circumstances for individuals, and because they are frustrated, they decide to experiment with all sorts of nonsense. I watched a lot of films on my way up. They did not influence me negatively. But now, when you make it impossible for people to even exist as individuals, I tell you, being a Nigerian is a full-time job. Just being a Nigerian. Yeah, I mean, we produce oil. We don't have fuel, right? I mean, we became independent in 1960, the year I went to the secondary school, and between then and now, we can't even supply electricity. Look, let us tell ourselves the truth. We're not moving forward. Then you look at the young men with all their education, you create impossible circumstances for them. And the moment you find out that you have some fine brains, right, and you're not using them properly, you tilt toward the left. That's criminality. It happens all the time, not only in Nigeria, in every other advanced clime, I can tell you that. So, whereas it's our intention to ensure that we spotlight the ills of society and let people beware in whatever they're doing, some people certainly feel that, okay, this is the best way to get along, right? Forgetting that what we are doing is spotlighting the evils in society. They now decide to go that way. That's the wrong direction. But I tell you, I'm totally in support, right, of banning that aspect of our production. I mean, if it will improve the society, no problems whatsoever. What I think is mainly wrong with most of our productions is sound. Our audio quality has to be improved upon, right? We are doing marvelously well in Nollywood. Yeah, well, some of the topics are threadbare now, and well, but we're still trying. At least it employs a lot of people. It does. It employs a lot of people. The government does not employ as many people as Nollywood employs, and we don't have to go cap in hand to the government. No. The degree of mendicancy that I see every time is not reflected in our operations in Nollywood. So I think we are doing our best. We're being recognized all over the world today.
Yeah.
I will tell you the truth. There's hardly any part of the world where Peter Edochie is not known, and it gives me a lot of joy. But if you go to Liberia today, for you to be a chief, you'll be answering Igwe, thanks to us. Culture plays a significant role. We try as much as possible to reflect culture in what we do, but sometimes the youngsters decide to experiment, and in so doing, they stultify some of our values. For example, if a girl goes on her knee, if she did to present drink to the man who will be her husband, he is compelled to accept that cup and drink from that cup. That is the marriage. That is the marriage. If he picks the cup and pours away the drink, he is not married to that girl. And sometimes you see that kind of nonsense in our productions. That is very painful because, I mean, for me, as a custodian of culture, I find it particularly painful, right? A lot of our young men don't even understand our culture. They don't, and they try to reflect it in what they do. Sometimes we find a king going to make overtures to a girl. You don't, look, that is not what it ought to be. If I'm an Igwe and I want to get married, I don't have to let my other wife know that I'm going to get married. No. It is my prerogative as the king to take wives from anywhere. People just come and tell me, we have seen a beautiful girl. Go talk to the father. That's all. And it's a joy that she's going to be identified with, the king. And that is all. In those days, if the king were having an ofala and you came with a beautiful woman, if the king points at that woman, you've lost her. He becomes his wife. I mean, that is the culture then. It even happened in Europe, the divine right of kings. I mean, these things are like that, whatever goes around comes around. But today, somehow, we misrepresent our culture, aspects of it, and I don't feel too happy about it, I remember that in one production, I saw my very good friend Dolu trying as much as possible to get close to Chioma Chukwuka, a wife that was procured for him, and he had to engage people to hold her so he could, by hell. That is not our culture. You don't require assistance to experiment with your wife. No, that's not. That. So you see, sometimes we go too far in being silly. But ordinarily, we should do our best to put our culture across, and the government, by the way, should not hesitate to be of assistance if we go to produce. Unfortunately, I hear that, getting money that has been already set aside by the government is not very easy. I don't know. I've not tried. I don't like being turned around by anybody here. So culture matters a lot. I agree with you completely. You are in a position to assess us. Have we been doing very well with our culture? Have we been bastardizing our culture? It's. I may feel that we are doing very well, right? But you will be a very critical audience. How well have we done? That depends on you.
Okay, well, go on.
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned the aspect of the audio in our movies. That seems to be a little blight.
Yeah.
It seems to be a little blight, even though our movies are doing well all over the world. And I feel very proud when
that's right.
my siblings and foreign wives call me and tell me what Nigerian movie they watched last night. In fact, my sister-in-law is Black American, and she watches about 3 Nigerian movies every single day. And she's now trying to speak like we speak.
Good. That's good.
Which is learning all that from our movies. Now, you spoke about the audio. What else would you see as a blight in our productions?
Sometimes we put out some wrong grammar. Unfortunately, it's so infectious. Somebody says, I have not come to banter words with you. There's nothing like that. That's not English. I've not come to bandy words with you. It's not banter. But you see, you can't engage Peter Richard to be there and be looking at the scripts and all that. But, I have not been auditioned. And somebody says, I've not been audited. You can't audit you now. You're not an account. It's audition. But that aspect of it,
Grammar.
Grammar, it was spreaded. It is not, there's nothing like spreaded. It's spread. Unfortunately, there is no way you can interrupt these people midstream and say, look, this thing is wrong. They take off and they've taken off. A lot of them watched Village Headmaster in those days, and they got used to saying, oh, palace. There's nothing like palace. It's palace, it's an English word, but because in Village Headmaster it was being referred to as palace, it just sank, right? It's so contagious. Everybody now says palace. I tell the people, look, this is not palace, it's palace. They don't want to listen to you, And oh, by the way, there was something I forgot to tell you about Zaria. When we were working in the railways, for you to get your salary, you would sign document in triplicate. Yeah, you would sign the first one, the second one, the third one. And we discovered that most of the people who signed 3 times wanted to be paid 3 times. we had problem convincing them that that was for the records. As far as they were concerned, they signed 3 times. You have to pay them 3 times. And, yeah, I remember that because I don't think it's something I'm likely to forget very easily. No, I won't. Yeah, that's right. And you will be told outright, because most of them were locals, and they will tell you, Nasa Sunana, then Gawanja Kuma, and Gambuka Tambali, you are trying to convince him. Well, that's in the past now, So back to Nollywood. I remember that I made a statement once. I said, it is not our culture for a man to get down on his knees and offer an engagement ring to a woman. Most of the people who opposed me and used some gutter language on me were women, and I didn't blame them actually, because a woman is the only creature that beheld the devil and survived. So they have a right to.
I'm almost certain that the women are going to come for you, Chief.
Yeah, that's right. But
they will come for you, Chief.
Your head is in trouble, Chief.
Yeah, but let us actually be honest. It's not our culture. Quite honestly, it is not. For the white man, they believe that the white women believe that whatever their men do, they too must do. So there is this, not just a competition. The women are in charge overseas. Yeah, if you appreciated a woman, maybe telling her that she has such tempting physical endowments, she'll just turn around and say that you are insulting her or that you harassed her or something. For that alone, you can lose your job. Back home in Nigeria, if you don't tell a girl that she's good looking, she feels that she's not wanted, that she's not worth it. Can you see the difference? How would you feel if you saw a woman climbing a palm tree? What a sight. I don't think it's, but again, they attack Peter Edochie because they don't even understand, And
So, Chief,
they're a wonderful lady.
so Chief,
Yeah.
in our culture, how does a man tell a woman he wants to marry her?
It's very simple. If I'm sitting by your side and I say, "Look, I want to marry you. You are very good. I think we could hit it together." It's no big deal. It is no big deal. No.
He just tells her.
What matters?
He just tells her.
Wait a minute. What are you? What do you want him to do?
Chief, put some romance in this thing now. How far?
Right. You want him to strip? Listen, I like you.
Give us some romance now.
I want to marry you. It's nothing big enough. All right. Okay. Maybe he just sneak up to you, hug you tightly and say, "Look, I want to marry you." Maybe you like it that way, right? Good. But I tell you the truth. The real deal is when you get both families together, right? A couple of trips are made on both sides. You make your inquiries, etc. And at the end of it all, you agree that you can hit it on. Then what happens? The woman's people, her own people come, their own people come, they get together, and then her father sips a cup of wine, gives to her, and says, "Go show us your husband." She moves around, right? And then genuflects in front of the man who is going to be her husband, sips a little, gives him that cup, he drinks from it. That is the marriage. The moment that happens, what it simply means is that you can now eat what they brought, right? The deal has been sealed. That's it. It's not, getting down on your knees and.
Okay,
as
Chief.
they say,
Chief,
bam.
you
See,
know,
our women think that they think that. Yeah, go on.
I wanted to say that you maybe you already authored or you have to author a book on culture so people know these things. That's something.
This has to be in that book.
Yes, you have to let people know, and I know. You've been through some of the cultures, and with your vast experience, these things should be easy for you. But there is something you are very well known for, whether in movies or, even in natural life. And that is Proverbs. You will tell us some, but why?
You know, Chinua Achebe said that Proverbs are the oil with which we eat our words, or how did they put it, if you are armed with Proverbs, it shows that you have achieved some mastery in the language, and only people who are initiates can understand you. Well, we have a saying in my place that if you use a proverb for somebody and he doesn't understand it, then the money spent on his mother is wasted.
Jesus.
So you see, that's right. You have to endeavor to at least associate with the elderly so that you can acquire some proverb. It's osmotic. The moment you stay with them, it oozes out of them and you pick this thing up. But if you don't do that, you can't really pass for a complete man. No, like people say, no matter how much you cry tears, blood will never come out of your eyes. It happens to be.
And the second charge that I'm going to give you, Chief, is you have to write a book of Proverbs too. Because this have to just go in a book. But we have to thank you today for the time that you've given us. A happy birthday once more is in order. Many happy returns.
Wait. This is beginning to sound like a conspiracy. A lot of people who came to see me were saying the same thing. Chief, you have to write a book on our culture. Chief, you have to. Did you people plan it?
Yes, we did. We did. We planned it.
Chief Pete Edochie, member of the Order of the Niger.
That's right.
Broadcaster, actor, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for joining us today and for closing our program today, the 12th day of March, 2022.
Thank you very much, and may God bless all of you.
Amen.
Keep it up. Your station is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.